The silent vigil. They called our world a footnote, a curiosity, a primitive backwater not worth the fuel it would take to properly conquer. The Galactic Consortium had encountered thousands of species in their long expansion across the stars, and humanity wasn't even interesting enough to warrant a full invasion. Instead, they placed us under quarantine. First contact happened in 2047. We sent our pride, our best and brightest, diplomats, scientists, military observers, aboard the consortium vessel that appeared in lunar orbit. None returned. The aliens simply vaporized our diplomatic ship after extracting what information they wanted. Their message was clear. Earth was now under their jurisdiction, and we were to remain planet-bound indefinitely. Their orbital platforms appeared the next day. 12 obsidian monoliths in geostationary positions around Earth, each housing weapons that could level cities. When Brazil and India attempted to launch retaliatory strikes, Jakarta and Sao Paulo disappeared in blinding flashes of light. 500 million souls gone in an instant, a demonstration of power. Then, for 50 years, nothing. The platforms watched. Consortium ships occasionally cycled through our system, replacing personnel or upgrading equipment. Earth was officially classified as a developing potential, a designation we later learned was barely one step above uninhabited resource worlds. They expected us to stagnate, to decay, to turn inward and forget the stars. They didn't understand humanity at all. We have one advantage, Director Cheng said at the first clandestine summit in the deep caverns beneath the Antarctic ice. Representatives from every surviving nation huddled in the frozen darkness, beyond the sensors of the orbital platforms. They think we're inconsequential. That misconception became our shield. While on the surface humanity appeared to accept its cage, beneath the Earth, beneath the oceans we built, every scrap of downed consortium technology was spirited away to hidden facilities. Every transmission intercepted from their platforms was analyzed. We learned their language, their technology, their weaknesses. Project Phoenix began in the caverns of Mars, far from the watchful eyes of the platforms. Technically, the quarantine only specified Earth. When the first colonists secretly reached the Red Planet in 2052 using stealth vessels built in underwater facilities, they'd brought with them the seeds of rebellion. The Phoenix Directive was simple. Develop the means to break the quarantine, then vanish into the stars before retaliation could come. Not conquest, survival. For decades, the work continued in absolute secrecy. The Martian colonies grew, hidden beneath the surface. Asteroids were quietly mined, their resources funneled into construction yards, concealed in the shadow of Saturn's rings, all while Earth maintained its facade of a defeated, isolated world. Maya Okafor was barely 20 when she first saw an Ember-class ship under construction. Born on Mars, she had never known Earth except through stories and data archives. Now, as one of Phoenix's lead, Maya nodded, feeling the weight of history pressing down on her shoulders. This moment had been in preparation for 60 years. 3 generations had dedicated their lives to reaching this point. Send the signal to Earth, she ordered. Operation Ember begins now. Across the solar system, hidden installations activated. On Earth, deep beneath the oceans and mountains, weapons platforms that had been built piece by piece over decades powered up. In the asteroid belt, stealth mines drifted toward predetermined coordinates. And in the shadow of Saturn, the Phoenix fleet ignited their drives for the first time. The consortium platforms detected the energy spikes immediately. Their automated systems registered anomalies across the system simultaneously, impossible to address all at once. Before they could react, the first wave of Earth's counter-strike hit. From the depths of the Pacific, hypersonic missiles screamed into the sky, targeting the nearest platform. From the Gobi Desert, particle cannons, reverse-engineered from salvaged consortium technology, fired continuous beams at another. All across the planet, humanity revealed its teeth. The platforms responded with overwhelming force, exactly as predicted. They unleashed energy weapons on the launch sites. vaporizing huge sections of Earth's surface. But the attacks had served their purpose, a distraction. By the time the consortium commanders realized the true threat, Maya's fleet had already reached the inner system. The Vengeance led the charge. Its massive form finally revealed as stealth systems were dropped in favor of speed. "Target the nearest platform," Maya ordered. "All ships, commence firing." The Ember fleet opened fire with weapons the consortium had never encountered before, adapted and improved versions of their own technology, modified by human ingenuity and desperation. The first platform shattered under the combined assault, fragments tumbling toward Earth's atmosphere. "They're calling for reinforcements," Rise reported, monitoring the frantic transmissions from the remaining platforms. "Consortium fleet elements responding from Proxima Centauri." "Right on schedule," Maya replied. "All colony ships, begin your jumps. Phase 2 vessels, take up defensive positions." This was the moment of greatest risk, and their greatest gambit. The families of Phoenix, the seed population of humanity's future, were evacuating the system in vessels bound for predetermined sanctuary worlds far beyond consortium space. Meanwhile, Maya's warships would ensure they had time to escape. The last platform fell just as the first consortium battle group appeared at the edge of the system. Maya watched the massive ships materialize, dwarfing even her Ember-class vessels. The consortium had sent a hammer to swat what they still believed was a fly. "All colony ships away," Rice confirmed. "The future of humanity is secure, Admiral." Maya nodded, feeling the curious mixture of relief and resolve. "Now for our part. All ships, form up on the Vengeance. Prepare for combat maneuvers." She opened a channel to the entire fleet. "This is Admiral Okafor. For 60 years, humanity has hidden its light. We've been patient. We've been silent. That time is over. Today we show the consortium, and every other species in this galaxy, that Earth will not be forgotten. We will not be contained. We will not be classified as a footnote in their histories." The Ember fleet accelerated toward the incoming consortium armada, weapons hot, droids flaring like newborn stars. "Today," Maya said, "we remind them why they should have feared us from the start." The battle that followed would later be called the breaking of chains in human historical records. The consortium, expecting to find a handful of primitive vessels using stolen technology, instead encountered a fully prepared war fleet with weapons and tactics they had never seen before. The Vengeance took point, its reinforced prow smashing through the first consortium cruiser before the alien vessel could bring its shields to full power. Maya's fleet moved with precision born from years of drills, targeting propulsion systems and weapons arrays with surgical strikes. 3 hours later, the remnants of the consortium force retreated, jumping back to Proxima Centauri to regroup. They left behind the wreckage of nearly half their ships, while the Ember fleet had lost only 7 vessels. "They'll be back," Rise said quietly as they watched the last enemy ship disappear, "and in greater numbers." "Of course they will," Maya replied. "But we won't be here. All ships, prepare for long-range jump. Our next target is the Arcturus Gate." The Ember fleet vanished into the darkness between stars, leaving behind a liberated Earth and the first defeat the consortium had suffered in centuries. The message was clear. Humanity had broken its chains, and now it was taking the fight to the galaxy itself. Earth would remain under consortium blockade for years to come, but it didn't matter. The fire of humanity had already escaped, spreading among the stars, and the consortium was about to learn just how dangerous that fire could be. Fire in the void. The Arcturus Gate was supposed to be impregnable. For 800 years, it had stood as the linchpin of consortium power in the Galactic West, a massive artificial wormhole stabilizer that controlled all official travel through 50 star systems. Its defenses included a shell of battle stations, automated weapon platforms, and a permanent garrison of the consortium's elite Void Guard. No unauthorized vessel had ever breached its perimeter. No enemy fleet had ever posed a serious threat to its operation. Until humanity arrived. They still don't understand what they're facing. Captain Elias Cato said, standing beside Admiral Okafor on the Vengeance's observation deck. Through the reinforced viewport, they could see the gate, a shimmering, ring-shaped structure larger than Earth's moon, pulsing with energies that bent the fabric of space itself. "They think we're refugees," Maya replied. "Desperate survivors of a failed rebellion. They can't conceive that this was our plan from the beginning." In the 3 months since breaking the Earth quarantine, the Ember fleet had struck a dozen consortium outposts across the sector, always appearing without warning, hitting with overwhelming force, then vanishing before significant reinforcements could arrive. The consortium military command was still struggling to understand how the supposedly primitive humans had developed such advanced stealth and propulsion technology. What they didn't know, what they couldn't know, was that humanity had been watching them for 60 years, learning, adapting. While the consortium had grown complacent in their power, humans had evolved their technology with a single focus: survival at any cost. The colony ships report successful establishment on all 7 sanctuary worlds, Cato said, checking his datapad. Terraforming has begun on the outer planets. Humanity's survival is assured, regardless of what happens here. Maya nodded. That had always been the first priority of Phoenix, ensuring that even if they failed here, human civilization would continue beyond the consortium's reach. But now it was time for the second phase. "Signal the fleet," she ordered. "It's time to introduce ourselves properly to the galaxy." The assault on the Arcturus gate began not with a barrage of weapons fire, but with a transmission. Every communication channel in the system suddenly carried the same message, broadcast in the formal language of the consortium. "Attention all species and representatives. This is Admiral Maya Okafor of the Free Earth Fleet. For 60 years, the consortium has suppressed humanity, denied us our place among the stars, and classified us as insignificant. Today, that changes. We do not seek conquest. We do not seek vengeance. We seek recognition and justice, not only for humanity, but for all species subjugated by consortium rule. The Arcturus gate will fall today. Choose whether you stand with the future or with the past." The message was a calculated risk. Intelligence gathered over decades had revealed a crucial truth. Humanity was far from the only species chafing under consortium dominance. Dozens of worlds suffered under resource quotas and development restrictions. Some had been held in states of artificial technological stagnation for centuries. When the Ember fleet decloaked, the Void Guard responded exactly as expected, with immediate and overwhelming force. What they didn't expect was the response from within. As the first shots were exchanged, alarms blared across the gate complex. Insurrection had broken out among the maintenance crews, primarily composed of members from the arthropoid, Kirvosh species, long treated as little more than machinery by their consortium overlords. Key defense systems suddenly went offline. Shield generators failed, and in the confusion, Maya's ships struck with precision. "All vessels, concentrate fire on coordinates Alpha 6, she commanded as the Vengeance led the charge. "Breach their outer perimeter and maintain formation." The battle unfolded across multiple dimensions of space. While conventional weapons fire lit up the void, specialized teams deployed from the human fleet, using captured consortium insertion craft to board the gate's control stations. Meanwhile, cyber warfare suites, developed from generations of studying consortium networks, undermined their command and control systems. 6 hours into the battle, the unthinkable happened. The Arcturus gate, the impregnable linchpin of consortium power, fell to human forces. "Secure all stations," Maya ordered as reports of victory flowed in, "and open a channel to diplomatic base Theta." The face that appeared on the command screen wasn't human. Ambassador Relteka of the Kirvosh remnant bobbed their sensor-clustered head in acknowledgement. "Admiral Okafor," they chittered, translator rendering their complex language into standard human English. "The Kirvosh thank you for this opportunity. Our uprising has succeeded on 15 consortium worlds simultaneously. And the other species. The Naradi have declared their sovereign independence, The Volith hegemony has closed its borders to consortium ships, and most surprisingly, the Jexar enclave has offered military support to our coalition. Maya allowed herself a small smile. Then tell them we accept. The Galactic Coalition begins today. The news of the Arcturus Gate's fall spread across the galaxy at superluminal speeds. The consortium, for the first time in its 1,000-year history, faced a true existential threat, not from a single rebellious species, but from a coalition of the oppressed, led by the humans they had so fatally underestimated. Over the next year, the conflict evolved from isolated battles to a full-scale galactic civil war. The coalition, with humanity's Ember Fleet as its vanguard, liberated system after system. The consortium, massive but unwieldy, struggled to respond to the asymmetric tactics employed by their former subjects. Maya Okafor, once merely the admiral of humanity's exile fleet, became the strategic heart of the coalition. Her understanding of consortium weaknesses, combined with the unique perspectives of the allied species, created a force unlike anything the galaxy had seen before. "They're calling for a ceasefire," Rise reported, now serving as Maya's chief of staff. "The Consortium High Council has requested a diplomatic summit on neutral territory." Maya studied the transmission details carefully. After 18 months of war, the coalition controlled nearly 30% of former consortium space. Earth itself remained under blockade, but that would soon change if the current momentum continued. "They're playing for time," she said, trying to regroup while appearing reasonable. "Almost certainly," Rise agreed, "but refusing to negotiate would undermine our position with the neutral systems. We need to at least appear willing to consider peace." Maya nodded slowly. "Tell them we accept. But the summit happens at the Arcturus Gate, on our territory." The diplomatic summit brought together representatives from over 200 stellar nations. The consortium arrived with an armada of their most impressive warships, a show of strength meant to intimidate. The coalition responded with a single vessel, the Vengeance, now bearing the scars of dozens of battles. When the consortium High Chancellor, a tall, willowy being from one of the founding species, entered the conference chamber aboard the gate, they found not just humans waiting for them, but representatives from every member of the coalition. "You have caused tremendous damage to galactic stability," the Chancellor began, voice resonating with artificial gravity. "Billions have suffered from your rebellion." Maya, dressed in the formal uniform of the Earth Fleet rather than battle armor, met the alien's gaze steadily. "The suffering began long before we fired the first shot, Chancellor. It began when the consortium decided which species deserved freedom and which did not. It began when you quarantined Earth because we were too aggressive to join your perfect society. Humanity was quarantined because your development trajectory showed dangerous tendencies," the Chancellor responded. "Your history is filled with warfare and self-destruction. And yet here we are," Maya said, gesturing to the coalition representatives around her. "Not conquering, but liberating. Not destroying, but building alliances. You feared what humanity might become, so you tried to cage us. In doing so, you created exactly the enemy you feared." The negotiations lasted for weeks. The consortium, for all its pride, could not ignore the reality of their strategic position. The technologies developed by the human-led coalition had neutralized many of their traditional advantages. Worse, the rebellion had inspired increasing dissent even among their core worlds. In the end, the Treaty of Arcturus reshaped the galaxy. The consortium would continue to exist, but as one power among many rather than the unchallenged ruler of civilized space. The quarantine of Earth was lifted immediately. All species were granted the right of self-determination and technological development. And humanity, once dismissed as a primitive curiosity, was recognized as a full and equal member of the galactic community. When Maya Okafor returned to Earth for the first time in her life, she stood on the shores of Lake Victoria, feeling strange gravity beneath her feet and alien air in her lungs. This was the homeworld she had never known, the planet whose freedom she had fought for. "Was it worth it?" Rise asked, standing beside her as they watched Earth's sun set over the water. All the sacrifices, all the years in hiding. Maya considered the question carefully. The war had cost millions of lives across dozens of species. The scars, both physical and psychological, would take generations to heal. Yet the galaxy that emerged was fundamentally transformed. More just, more free. We didn't want to fight, she said finally. We wanted to explore, to learn, to join a community of worlds. The consortium denied us that choice, so we had to make our own path. She looked up at the darkening sky, where the first stars were beginning to appear. Somewhere up there, the coalition fleet maintained its vigil. Humanity's children spread across distant worlds, building new civilizations beyond the shadow of Earth. And species that had suffered for centuries under consortium rule now shaped their own destinies. They thought our isolation would extinguish us, Maya said. Instead, it taught us patience. It forced us to look inward, to find strengths we never knew we had. The consortium feared humanity's fire, so they tried to smother it. She smiled as the stars grew brighter above them. But embers, forgotten in the darkness, don't die. They wait. And when the time is right, they ignite the stars.